Welcome to Google Tech Class, and specifically um, assessment tools, which is going to deal with Google Forms and Flubaroo. So what I hope to do is to gain a better understanding of how to use Google features such as Forms and Flubaroo. What Flubaroo is, it's a free time-saving tool that can allow teachers to quickly grade multiple choice assignments and analyze the results. It can also provide feedback to the students through this Google add-on script. So what I'm going to show you right now is what it does. So first, let's say I've created this quiz, and in this quiz, I'm going to input information. I'm going to put my um, um, so then I'm going to go through and let's say I'm going to take this quiz. And I'm just going to click random things. I don't even know if they're the right answer here. So now that I've taken this quiz, what I can do is I can go into um, my answer sheet here, and I can go to add-ons, Flubaroo, and now it says regrade assignment. That's because I've used this form before and I've graded this assignment. But as you can see down here, my answers went into this information right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the Flubaroo script. I'm going to hit regrade assignment. It's going to ask me this, we replace existing grades. It won't always ask you this question, but since I've already run this once, it's going to ask me that. Then it's going to take you through some steps. And in these steps, you have the opportunity to choose things such as how many points do you want it? Do you want to identify it? Does this identify a student, or do you want to skip grading it? Maybe you just want it to be in there. Um, so some of these pre-default, others of them, it's just um, and see for this. So for all these, I'm going to grade them, and we're going to see what happens here. So we hit continue. They're all worth 1 point. These ones up here helped identify me. If you choose identify students, it's going to move them to the front. You'll see what I mean in just a second. So as I run this, what I want to do is I want to make sure I choose my answer key, and I've already previously set my answer key for this, but I'm going to choose this one right here as my answer key. And it's going to go through and it's going to grade this information for me. It's going to tell me right here, grades has been created. This worksheet contains information. So right here, it's telling me in my grades tab down here. Okay, so now I'm going to notice here's my submission. It just tells me what submissions I've had. But now here's my grades. And this is telling me that I got 5 total points. My percentage was 62.5. That I've only taken this one time. If I've taken this 10 times, then I could, it would tell me that. And it will tell me how many times. It'll also tell me if the teacher's ever emailed the grade. But what it can do is this is telling me multiple things right here. First of all, this is telling me that I've got one, I got this one right. It's also telling me that these gold things right here are telling me that this question is below the 70% as a whole. So what a teacher could use this for is they could use it as a quick way to say, oh, my students don't understand that one, or they do understand that one. Notice how none of these are done very well. It's showing me that all these were below 70%. But what I could do now is I could go up here to this add-ons in Flubaroo and I could email my grade. I could view a report. And what this report is going to do is it's going to tell me the number of times submission, and then it's going to tell me kind of all these averages, like the report for this class. And I could get this report emailed to me if I wanted to. I could also choose email grades from this. It will tell me which question is their email account. It'll tell me to include the questions and the scores. Do I want the answer key? Maybe the students use this as a study guide and I want them to get the answer key. Then I can also include a message, and then it's going to mass email them out. So that's what Flubaroo is in a nutshell. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, well, how did I get to that point? What I had to do is I had to create a form, and the form is your test. And then I had to then what I always do the next step is I always take the test and make that my answer key. So I make sure I go through my very first submission and I make sure the name is answer and then last name is key. And then it's always the first one in there. So when you're going through that step of which one do you want the grades to be based off of, the answer key is always the first one. The next one is to have the students take the test. Now find a place to link it. A lot of you are probably using Classroom now. So you can just attach the form or link the form to your Classroom and have students go on that way. And then what you'll do is in your submissions page, you'll go to the add-ons in Flubaroo, but you only have to add Flubaroo once. So I'm going to kind of take you through that now. So what I would do is I'd go up to New, I would go try to find Forms, and I would choose a form. And maybe I want to I title this Practice Test for Assessment 1. And this is just my practice test for Assessment 1. I always uncheck the require Ankeny schools because that way a student doesn't have to log on. That's either one's okay. So I always make this, I always make my very first question their first name. And what I do is I make them write their name in. I always do a text there. I always require this question. I always do their first name. And I always make this their last name. The next one is class period. I typically use the same form in an assessment setting for all the same classes. So this way it'll separate my classes for me, and I'm more than welcome to regrade that assignment as many times as I want. So this is and I've found that with this one too, I always make them write their class period because that way they tend to not get it wrong as many times. And then the last one is if you want to email grades, you need to ask always tell them I always give them a hint on this one. If they don't type the entire address, it won't send them to them. So if they just put their student ID and forget the @students at Ankeny schools, it won't get it to them. And then let's say we're just going to do, make sure that's a text one. And then we're going to add and this is where multiple choice so we just create a quick question. And maybe we just have one more question. And this one we want to do a choose from list. And we do so now we have our form ready to go and it's done. And you're pretty sure that you have all your questions. And even if you want to go back and add questions later, that's fine. So now what I always do is I always go to view live form. And then I take this test real quick. 3A. I do my then I take this test, and I want Monday to be the right answer, and I want Tuesday to be the right answer. So then I submit it. So now, let's say a student comes in, and the student wants to take this test. Okay, so now the student comes in, and their name is student 1. They're in 1A. Their thing is 1, 2, 3. And they come in and they take this test and they choose those answers. So now that you have those answers, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to view responses, and notice how these are in there. And now, like I told you earlier, I really meant to make this response answer and key. That way I know it's the answer key. I don't normally type my name in there. So what I normally do in that very first response is make sure I make an answer key. That was a mistake I made. But you see student 1's right there. So now what we would do is we'd go up, and add-ons, if you've already added it, is there. So you're going to enable Flubaroo for the sheet. What's going to happen is it's been enabled. Now I can go up and I can grade assignment. And just like before, it's going to ask me these questions. I want all these to identify mine. Each one of those is worth 1 point. I'm going to choose which one I want to be the answer key. And notice I've changed this, so I know that one's my answer key. And I'm going to go to continue. It's going to go through and it's going to tell me that I can view my grades now. And notice student 1's taken it. They're in class period 1. Here's their student email account. They got 1 point, so they've got 50%. They've taken this one time. It's telling me that this question right here, they got it correct, and this question right here, they got it wrong. And notice that it's pointing out that this question right here is maybe a bad question because, for example, only 0% have got it right. It really points it out. So this is just a quick way to assess students through multiple choice or choose from a list. You can also have students do short or like a fill in the blank type of answer, but they have to make sure they type the answer correctly. If they misspell it, it would count it wrong. So you'd have to go back and check that. I hope this will help with forms and Flubaroo. And if you have any questions, please give me an email.